Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dola Merrilees. I'm the Director of the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences. Let me begin by acknowledging that we're meeting on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here today to the museum for the Centre for Fashion event, Fashion Behind the Scenes in Conversation. I'd like to acknowledge the museum trustees here today, Deputy President and Chair of the Centre for Fashion, Ms. Lisa Chung, and Ms. Liz Anderson, and Mrs. Janet McDonald. This event is being co-presented by the University of Technology, Sydney, Faculty of Design, Architecture and Building. And I'd like to acknowledge Elizabeth Mossop, Dean of School, and Professor Peter McNeill, one of our esteemed Centre for Fashion advisors. I'd also like to acknowledge the Centre ambassadors and members of its advisory board and the Centre's designer circle, many of whom are here with us this morning, including the Centre's founding patron, Dr. Jean Sherman, and of course, a warm welcome to our distinguished guests. The Museum's Centre for Fashion, established in 2015 as Australia's first public centre for fashion excellence, has at its core the museum's extraordinary collection of over 30,000 items, a comprehensive repository of historical and contemporary fashion, collected over 140 years. The Centre has gone from strength to strength with highly successful and critically acclaimed exhibitions including Colette Dinnigan Unlaced, Isabella Blow, A Fashionable Life, and now Love Is, Australian Wedding Fashion, which features a number of pieces from our collection which have never before been seen on public display, and I hope you'll enjoy seeing after today's conversation. The Centre for Fashion provides a public platform that brings together industry, universities, communities of practice, and our audiences through its programs, experiences, and exhibitions. It is spearheading the way the museum sector engages with fashion and gives our visitors and our digital audiences behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, both locally and internationally. And today we will hear about the careers of three of Australia's most powerful women in fashion: Laura Brown, Editor-in-Chief of Instyle USA, Christine Centenera, Stylist and Fashion Director, VOGUE Australia, and Yasmin Sewell, Fashion Director, Style.com, and co-founder of Etre, Cecile. I look forward to hearing how these women have progressed their careers and now sit on the global stage. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce the host of this event, Damien Woolnow. Damien has worked at VOGUE Australia, Elle Australia, InStyle Australia, and was fashion editor of the Australian newspaper. Damien was the inaugural editor of Vogue.com.au and currently works as consulting editor at Nine Style and associate editor at GQ. Please join me in welcoming our guests.
That makes me sound as though I have fashion commitment issues, but I was also once described by The Good Weekend as a former Vogue editor's gay handbag, as was someone else in this room. They didn't mean it nicely, but I've taken it to mean someone who enjoys working with strong women who have great taste in accessories. And that should come in handy today, hopefully.
Yes.
As we have these, I think, do I need to go a bit more into each of your resumes, I think?
A deep dive?
A deep dive.
Go on, or we could do each other's.
We could do each other's? Oh, that would be far more interesting.
No, you go.
Laura Brown, Editor-in-Chief of Instyle USA, which has an audience of more than 30 million people, which is staggering. Laura oversees over print, digital, live events, and has been crucial in reshaping the magazine's direction, or the brand's direction recently, and expanding its remit of celebrity further into fashion. Before that, executive editor of Harper's Bazaar in the US and worked on titles such as W and Details, and before that even studied at Charles Sturt University here in New South Wales.
First.
Yasmin, who launched her first store in London in 1998. Is that correct?
True, yeah. She was 42 years old.
Before going on to shape the direction of leading British brands such as Liberty and Brown's Boutiques, has been crucial in helping launch the careers of Rick Owens, Acne, Roxanda, big players. As well as that, there's sort of a label, Etre Cecile, launched in 2012, your role as fashion director of Style.com, and incredibly sitting on the Next Gen panel for the British Fashion Council, which shows your commitment to emerging talent.
Yes.
And Christine Centenera, Fashion Director for Vogue Australia, more than 15 years shaping your own editorial style and strong, closely followed personal style, having worked with photographers Mario Testino, Patrick Demarchelier, David Bailey, celebrities such as our Nicole Kidman, our Margot Robbie, our Kate Blanchett, creating images that capture, they're all ours. Capturing the zeitgeist in timeless images, but also consulting for brands such as Dion Lee, Josh Goose, Yeezy. So a real fashion force gathered with us here today, but not just locally, obviously, internationally. And I'd just love to find out what it means to be an Australian in the fashion industry abroad.
I think it's the one place you can be remotely exotic as an Aussie. You know what I mean? In the UK, you work in the bars, but especially in the USA, it's kind of a, we love you Aussies. We love you, you're so positive. So I think that whatever sort of national PR we come with is always positive. So I think coming from that sort of springboard, I think that's, you know, it's a great initial perspective to have.
Is that the case in London as well?
I think in London, it used to be different. Now people are really obviously open to Australians. I think in America much more. In America, when I go, they always get the, oh my God, I love you're Australian, I love Australians. But in the UK, yes, there's not as many people in fashion that are as many as in the US, but it's changed a lot. You know, 20 years ago, when I first went to London, being Australian was actually quite difficult. You know, it wasn't, I mean, I still got the convict comment 20 years ago. That was still dropped in conversations a lot, you know, in 1998, 1997. I mean, it was something that was spoken about, but now, not at all. And there's great Australian talent. I think back to Richard Nichol and the change that happened in the UK, you know, great Australian talent, you know, but yeah, I think there's definitely an openness and a positivity that comes from us.
I think I've only recently moved to New York in August, and I think I agree with everything you say, but I think the one thing that people come to expect from Australians, or to find with Australians, is that there's a fresh perspective that we have. I think that, you know, living far away, we've had to kind of work harder, and we've had to, just work a little bit harder, and they love that we have a different perspective on things that an American might say.
I think we're more fearless. I think we're really fearless. I think the Aussies...
Guileless or stupid.
Or foolish. Fearless and really foolish.
I think they're surprised at how hard we work.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we just propelled ourselves there.
Yes.
And I without, like, Yazzie was, you know, in London for 20 years. I turned up in New York a week before September 11th. Christine's traveled around all over the place. And you just kind of get up and go, and you work.
And you kind of have to be ready when you get off a plane to work.
We work with jet lag.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also,
poorly.
I also always employ Australians. I've always got Australians coming, you know, from
down
Oz.
to the work ethic.
Yeah, work ethic, and we always know they're going to work hard and be hungry and ready and enthusiastic. I mean, we've definitely got an edge on that. We do.
Where does that work ethic and that enthusiasm come from? Does it come from the size of the industry here and having to?
I think you have to have drive living on the other side of the world.
Yeah, I think it's from being happy to be there. I think there's still, no matter how established in our industry we are, I think there's a part of it, whatever percentage it is, it's still a bit like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? I'm on this playing field. It could be 2%, whatever it is, but there's this, we have a pleasure to be from here and be working up there, over there. I think that never really goes away, so I think that's quite compelling.
And we also always have an out. If things go really bad, we can always run home.
And this doesn't suck.
They've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It's not an easy out.
So it's always like, well, who cares? We can run.
This isn't terrible.
This.
Exactly.
It's true, though. It's always there.
I know. You're so right.
It's so true.
Run back to the harbour.
Run back to the harbour, totally.
So apart from the odd convict comments.
Yes, that was very 90s.
So it's very 90s.
It went with the
Convict is
90s.
so 90s.
It went with the 90s.
1790s.
Are there any sort of negative connotations that you've been greeted with as Australians?
Not now.
I think you need to work harder to prove yourself. I think there's a misconception that the work is substandard. I've noticed when I moved to New York, there were certain photographers, Australian photographers, who are the top of their game, I won't mention names, who were reluctant to work with me in the magazine, but I think once we actually did work together, they were quite surprised at how, at the level that we work on, I think it's the same playing field over there. I think they were surprised at, I guess, how we, how prepared we were. They're surprised at the level of talent that there is at the magazine, and it's really not dissimilar to the editors that they're working with in New York. I know for myself, for example, how, we have fittings, we have a certain process that's in place before we shoot, and I know that working with Testina, with Princess Mary in Copenhagen, he was shocked. He said, a lot of editors don't do this anymore, so I think that's really comforting and nice to hear.
Yeah, professionalism for sure. For me, I've been in New York for so long and been in the New York magazine industry for 15, 16 years that I don't really feel like I'm Aussie, anymore, because I remember I got there at a really terrible time and freelanced and turned up. But then I think, again, it's a New York thing. If you show up, you're a good person, you kind of get on with people, you will be rewarded.
So it's more a work ethic thing.
Yeah, and being a decent human.
Because I've
Big
always
advocate of that.
dreamed there was an Aussie mafia since reading about Olivia Newton-John with Koala Blue in LA.
This is it.
A while ago.
We're actually we are reopening Koala Blue. Yasmin's part of its new launch. There is no. Yeah, there is.
You have hashtags.
We've been. I mean, Yasmin and I have been friends for
Too long.
almost 20 years. Christine now is spending more time in New York. We see more of each other. I think that we look out for each other whether or not we see each other. I think if we all could work together, we would. I mean, these guys can because they've got a.
We have.
But they've got they're with Condé Nast, so I can't. I'm a different publisher. But if we all could,
I don't even think it's about necessarily working together. I think collaboration's one thing, and that comes down to the standard of work. And sometimes we can't work together, but I think it comes down to support and advice. And there's working together on that level without actually me doing a shoot for you for the magazine. So
But we have worked together. I worked with Christine on a campaign that she shot for us at style.com. We collaborated together on my brand. We made t-shirts together. And whenever we can, if I can work with Laura more and Christine more, I will. One, there's a friendship there that I've had for a long time. Instant connection and trust. And I also know these girls will do amazing work at what they do, and it's a privilege to work with them and be friends with them. So, but yeah.
So there's no Aussie godfather or godmother of, the expat Aussie mafia?
Well, kind of. I mean, no, in New York there's Malcolm Carfrae, who has the Australians in New York Fashion Foundation, and he rallies us all together in July, and we all get drunk and support Aussies. But that's sort of, we just sort of get on. When we see each other, we're happy to, and we're always aware of what everyone else is doing, and always helping each other out. But we don't sort of go here is the meeting of the council. We're too busy.
That dashes my dreams.
I'm so sorry.
Such a good
But
we could start a mafia.
No, but we're all
for
staying
you
in
if
the
you
same
want.
room. We're spooning every night. Yeah.
Perfect, I'll turn big true.
Yeah.
So growing up in Australia, what was what were your introductions to fashion to get into this industry? What were your initial touch points?
I'm looking at my mom. It's Steph, she knows, I'm going to mention it. For me, it was my mom, actually, and she really loved fashion. I think I always just had a great passion for always when I was so small. And at one point, she bought a Singer sewing machine, which I remember so well, and she was making her own taffeta 80s pink taffeta ball gowns that blew my mind. And I have these memories of that, which again were just highlights of my childhood, and even just times where I would walk past store windows and I would see things in windows, and again I was just so drawn to it. I mean, I excelled on plain clothes day at school. I really did though, and I think back and I was really taking risks at a young age. And I had a school friend, a girl I went to school with years ago, kindergarten almost, and she was like, I remember you saying to me, you should totally wear that polka dot bikini today. And I was like, really? But I think for me it was my mom and just whatever access I had to it, and it was always there. And it's still there, always.
And it's still mum.
And there's still mum, she's there.
For you, Laura?
I was styling bath towels, I recall, and when about 9 years old, just getting out of the shower doing a look. But I remember very, very, very clearly, because obviously we're old birds and we didn't have social media then, but watching, do you remember the bicentennial fashion show at the Opera House?
Deborah Hutton.
And there was Karl Lagerfeld, Missoni, Claude Montana, blah, blah, and blah, blah. And I remember just going, that's fashion, with a capital F, but also because they would come here. You know what I mean? And it was this show there, and I was watching it on, I don't know, Channel 9 or whatever it was, and I would have been 13 or so, I guess, and 14, and I just was like that. And I still remember, oh, it's real, and it's here, and that man has a funny ponytail, and this guy has big shoulders, and there's other lady with squiggles, you know, and that was kind of it.
That's
that
it.
sort of, you know, and then obviously all the magazines. Buying all the magazines for a long time. I keep saying in college everyone else was spending their money on pot, and I was buying old magazines, so.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really have any youthful like fashion moments like you guys. I don't know. I have 4 sisters, and I think that formed part of my interest. But I think I tried to fight it for a long time. I kind of fell into fashion. I didn't study it or anything like that. So I think I was always into it, and I was always interested. And I've got 4 sisters, and you know, love clothes and all of that. But yeah, I don't know.
Was there a turning point when you finally felt comfortable to embrace it?
I think I started working at a magazine, not in fashion, and I had an editor at the time who just kept hounding me to come and work in the fashion department. And I used to look at the girls in fashion. I used to just think that I just thought I could never be part of that because I just didn't really understand what it was, you know, styling was about really. Anyhow, so she convinced me to give her 6 months, and that was, you know, 10 years ago.
Well, which leads to the next question, because you're all great role models for emerging fashion professionals, but who in your careers have been mentors for you and guided you?
I have a really crap answer for that.
Great, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Not really anyone.
No one?
No, and I'm not being like
I have the
ego-y
same
about it.
answer.
I have so many.
I have this.
Yeah, I don't know if you could page Dr. Freud and be like, I'm an only child, and I just kind of got on with it, but I didn't, exactly. I didn't look up, I mean, I look up to people, but I didn't defer to people
Right.
for answers on what I should do.
So there was no one person who took you under their wing and sort of...
No, and I always feel bad for not
She did it on
saying
her
that.
own. I'm kind of the same. In terms of work, I mean, I've had fantastic bosses, and I think about that, and I think, oh, you know, Mrs. B from Brown's, she was great. You know, Geoffroy de la Bourdonnais, who was the CEO of Liberty when I was there, but now the CEO of Chloe, who's a dear friend, who's been a great guide and help of guidance and a great friend. He said something once to me. He said, know the politics, don't play the politics, which I still remember. That was good.
Yeah.
I'm in Anna Winter now on the board of Style.com, so I've worked with her, and the time I've spent with her, super smart, brilliant. But to be honest, the mentors I think in my life have been more my friends, my closest friends who are here.
People that come up with
and
you.
like my meditation teacher and, you know, my healer. I think they're the ones that have shaped me, but not necessarily somebody in the fashion world so much. It's more the
opposite.
Emily and Antonia and Sophie, my friends. Like I think it's like that's actually,
Yeah, I'm different. I think I've had many mentors. Alison Vaness was the editor I was talking about. Jamie Huckbody, I don't know if anyone remembers him. Edwina and Gillian Davison, who probably out of all of them was really the one who trained me as a stylist and made me understand the art and discipline that there is when it comes to being a stylist at a certain level. And I think as a stylist, working with commissioning different stylists for the magazine, I can really tell the difference of the people who were trained in a certain way and the people who just haven't had that formal training. And I personally think it's really important, and I've been lucky enough to have that, to have people in my life who have helped me, who guided me. I don't even think it was just, I don't know, just influential women and men in my life who were brilliant at what they do, and I learnt so much of them.
Well, we're very fortunate to have you come back to Australia, and we're in the middle of Fashion Week. So coming back and getting a survey of the land, what do you see as the positives in the Australian fashion industry at the moment, and also some of the challenges that the Australian fashion industry is facing?
I'm so jet lagged, I barely
But
noticed
this
anything.
is where the truth comes
I
out.
think support is the biggest thing. I think we've all flown across the world to be here this week, so I think a positive in the industry is the support that there is for, you know, publishing models, designers, fashion design essentially, which is why we're here. Challenges?
Showing up. Yeah.
Laura, would you like to answer that
Challenges?
question?
No, I was just going to say, like, actually, I'm going to go to IMG, I think, tomorrow and see a bunch of my friend Ivan Bart runs IMG in New York, and he's like, you've got to check out, you know, all the models from here. So it's nice
models.
to be able to scope it out, you know what I mean, when you've got a bit of time here, because I am the biggest, supporter of Australians and Australian things within New York, or be it models or designers or zoo animals. but like they're not the same thing. But that's what I'm sort of keen to do. And when I find something great, from Australia, I'll champion it big time.
But there are also some challenges, and Yasmin, you're a great assessor of retail. What do you see as some of the challenges here?
I'm always still a bit disappointed by the retail. Yeah.
What disappoints you?
I still feel like, we should just have, Net-a-Porter and Farfetch and Matches, right? Australia are like top 3 customers.
Yes.
So why don't we have the most phenomenal department stores? Kick-ass department stores that are leading the world, that have amazing spaces, amazing retail, beautiful merchandising, phenomenal marketing, like pushing boundaries of retail, which is what I'm all about. I think they do a good job, but I still think they're underestimating this customer, and I just think Australians are shopping. I mean, at one point when I wasn't at Style.com and I wasn't at a retailer, every retailer came to me going, "How do I get to Australia? How do I get to that woman?" Because they're shopping. They all came to me. And the department stores didn't. But I just think there's, I don't know, I think here people still, I don't know if that's it, they still underestimate that they can do phenomenal things, like an environment that you want to go to every day. Not just online. Online is very important, of course. I'm in the online world now, but a space. People like a space here. They want to go somewhere. They want to shop somewhere and be somewhere and eat somewhere and drink coffee and experience something and see something, and it's not being done yet.
I think I think as a general thing, you underestimate your customer. If it's a retailer or a magazine reader, at your absolute peril. They know much more than anyone gives them credit for knowing, and I get that in magazines all the time. But what about blah, blah, blah in Midwest? What about da, da, da? It's the same thing, or in Sydney, it's like, they've got Instagram, they're buying things from net or whatever, so yeah, it would be cool to be able to embrace that a bit more vigorously, and I mean that worldwide, honestly.
Yeah, and lead the way. Like really lead. We can lead. We can absolutely lead.
Yeah.
We lead in film. We lead in food.
We led in avocado toast.
Yes.
We started that.
Smashed avocado.
Sorry, Karen.
No, I was just saying, I think that crosses over to designers as well. We can lead the way, and I think it's important when it comes to, it's the core of brand building for a lot of Australian designers. I think it's important that, they're not influenced by international designers, and that they're finding their own voice. And people love Australia, and they're obsessed with this place. And I think it's important for them to find, inspiration from here, and not be so influenced, I think, by what's happening overseas.
I think it's why Mark for Stylist done so well.
Yeah.
As stylist and creative director, who's, he's Australian, and he's been here, and he kind of, the way he styles, he's got a very Australian aesthetic. He's really owned that, and I think that's what's been relatable.
And you look at brands like Zimmermann.
Yes,
that's
amazing.
No one does a better dress than Zimmermann. But also, I remember it was a couple of years ago when I just saw the Romance Was Born show at the art gallery, and it was like the full Australiana, but it was done so beautifully with the Ned Kelly thing and those crazy dinosaur designs, bangles, and it was just like, it was Aussie, yeah, but it wasn't pastiche, and it just was completely singularly kind of weird and them, and they've distinguished themselves.
Is it the Jenny Key collaboration?
Yeah. They distinguish themselves by being Australian, but by resolutely being the odd, lovely, beautiful, place that they live in.
I think with the Romance Was Born work you're talking about, it comes very close to art, and we're in an institution which has a great collection of fashion as part of their art. In your own work, what do you think that you have done that has come closest to art?
Everything. No. No, when I was in my previous job at Lazar, I used to do a lot of collaborations with artists. So if it was Murakami or John Baldessari or Francesca Clemente or Cindy Sherman, that was cool because I could legitimately say that I helped make art. Like the last thing I did before I left was something with Cindy, which was a sort of a pastiche of street style bloggers, and so I got Cindy onto Instagram and had her look at all of these faintly terrifying accounts, and she was like, "Dear God, I can't, what is going on here?" And she photographed herself outside the shows doing that. So I like things that spin off from fashion into an artistic space. I did a series with Francesca Clemente where it was inspired by an old painting of Verushka next to a painting of herself, and so I had Christy Turlington and Iman, everybody posed for that, and there are paintings that exist now that reflect that. So that has been quite literal. I wouldn't say that anything I physically produced is art, but I have made some with some artists.
I think, you know, for me, the great design is art. If it's fashion or an artist, a painter, it's the same thing. I mean, with brands I've worked with, designers I've worked with, there are some that are just true artists, and what they create for me is art. It could go beyond what's wearable or beyond, you know, what we see as a trend. But they look at things like an artist in a visionary way. J.W. Anderson, who, you know, I launched and worked with for a long time, you know, and I see what he does now, and he's at the beginning of his career still, I think. To me, he's an artist.
Is that what you're looking for when on the panel such as the Next Gen? Is that artistic element crucial? Is that what you're looking at?
It's about individuality. It's about really understanding who they are, not being derivative, and a sense of something just special and different. And it's a lot about the way that they think. You know, quite often I've met designers who haven't produced amazing clothes, but there's something in the brain, that the way that they talk and experience and feel and get, that I'm really drawn to. In fact, J.W. Anderson was one of them. He wasn't actually making great clothes, but now he makes amazing clothes. So there is, it's more than that, I think, because I've met dozens and dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of incredible designers. They don't always they don't always keep going, you know. I've seen a lot of them go out of business. But it's the ones that think differently are the ones that survive, and there's persistence, intelligence, and being tuned into something. Johnny from Acne is tuned into something else, isn't he? You know,
Another dimension.
Another dimension, something else that makes him special.
Yeah.
And look what he's created. And he wasn't actually always a great designer. Mm-hmm. You know, he made some jeans that were weird.
And he'll sit
the
there and
first
go,
collection was horrendous.
And he'll be into Swedish fishing books, and
Totally.
he'll tell you about it for an
But
hour.
look what he's created. and actually, he's a perfect example. I mean, when I met him back then, I met them season 1 when they didn't have a business outside of Sweden. But there was something there, which is acne.
I think art essentially captures a time and propels it forward, and I think fashion, when it's at its best, does the same thing, whether it's a designer or, you know, a shoot in a magazine. It kind of captures the essence of that time that you're in, and tries to kind of push things forward. So I think it goes across, like you say, designers, what we're doing, and I think there's a big correlation between the two.
Yeah, it's all about the moment. Fashion's all about the moment.
Now, when I started working in this industry, it was all about working for other brands, and you really didn't have an identity yourself because you were working for the label. You all have incredibly strong personal brands and incredibly strong social media followings. How important is that to working in the current environment, to be your own brand?
I struggle with it a bit, to be honest. I guess working at Vogue, when I got the job, it was at the same time as you. It's about the brand, it's about the title, and it's not about you as an individual. And I guess now that times are changing, and you need to, you know, social media plays a huge part in the popularity or the success of individuals or titles or brands. I think, I don't know, I kind of struggle with it.
Well, it's still a bit cringy, isn't it, really? Yeah. So it's almost like it's important and it's relevant. And I also think, you know, when I was consulting before I took a full-time role, I mean, a lot of clients knew me because of the fact that there was an awareness around me and maybe my social media and seeing me in a magazine in a street style picture, which, you know, which is like, you know, and you sort of think, well, that's not really all, you know, that's not really all that I am, but it also helps. So it's you know,
it's a double-edged sword because it does help, but then you want it. For me, it's about the work, and I want that to be first and foremost. So when someone says, "Oh, you're that street style person," I cringe, you know.
I do enjoy going to shows with these two sometimes, and it is my favourite thing that you loathe. But I go like, street style star, Yasmin Sewell, everybody. Yeah. And I just run
really
into a corner.
Every time I see Laura, she's always like, I appreciate the dedication. Like upstairs.
But you have this from an editor's perspective as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have that, but I think what I have loved about Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is that you can so resolutely be yourself within an industry that often makes people want to be something else other than themselves. So you can, especially for me, yes, I run a magazine, yes, I do glamorous things, blah, 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 but I still really love koalas. I still love a joke. I still eat a lot of spaghetti, you know, and so...
Carbonara.
But and so that's allowed me to be me, and then people have really responded to that because they're like, what? Like, she's a publicly sort of funny person in this job. And I think I never didn't realize it until quite reasonably recently. I think I appreciate that for young kids, kind of, who think that it's all other and it's all scary, and that you can just resolutely be yourself and do well.
Yeah, that is.
So you have to work really hard. All those things you mentioned, you work really hard.
But you just, and you earn your stripes, obviously, professionally. But that has been a really, really, really gratifying thing. I've also found a lot of great talent on Instagram, artists, or
totally.
all sorts of like wildlife photographers, fashion brands.
I find so many brands. It's all good.
So,
the connection is great. It is great.
But I was certainly hired for my job. The big part of, they knew I could put a magazine together, but half of the reason I was hired was because of that.
Yeah, me too, I think. So yeah,
because of the social media whoring. Yes.
Is it also important, I mean, going through your CVs earlier, I mean, you all have quite a few strings to your bows. Is it just enough to do one thing at the moment, or do you
No one does one thing anymore.
Yeah.
No one does.
No one does one thing anymore.
No?
I think as well in our industry, I think doing, like, for me, working at a magazine and styling and working with brands consulting, I think they inform each other. So I can't speak probably for you, but I think, working with a brand and consulting, seeing what kids are wearing and like cool kids who are working as part of design teams informs what I'm shooting at the magazine, because it's a way to be relevant or stay relevant, to kind of know what's happening across the board. I think if I was sitting at a desk, purely working on one thing, it would be a different point of view.
Running a business is the big string that is massive, and especially when it's like $100-something million business that along with everything else, it's a lot of. I think it's like the spinning plates, and that you do that a lot. And I think what I've noticed, especially in this role, but it was a little bit before now, but ever so much now, it's incredibly performative being an editor. You're asked to go into, whether you're dressing up to go to something, or like you've got to go do a panel, a room of advertisers, a meeting, a video program, blah, 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 blah. So that's one thing that, along with running a business, that is hugely demanding. I have to go to bed very early.
I'm with you. We both sleep early.
Yeah.
I love it. I think maybe I probably suffer from some sort of attention deficit disorder, I think, because now I realize that unless I'm so used to doing, thinking about, is it still on?
There you go.
Thinking about, it's not. Thinking about lots of different things. Can you hear me?
Go on.
Can you guys hear me? Oh, come on. I'm so used to now, I've been doing it for so long, and I have children, so and I have a husband, so it's a lot of things to think about. Thinking about so many different things in a day, even in my role now, I oversee, maybe 70 people. It's editorial, it's creative, it's the fashion department, it's PR communications, it's the technical integration. There's a lot of things that I have to, but if I can dab into everything a little bit, I'm probably better at that, and then I head into Etre, Cecile, or most of my focus is on my children, so I sort of I don't know, I think I've become quite good at just switching on and switching off very quickly, and I'm not into detail. I mean, you give me any detail work, I'd suffer. People get very frustrated.
If we were presidents, we'd be like Trump. We'd be impeached in like 5 minutes.
I'd be impeached.
Just no detail. Don't read the instructions
I think
at
if you're a
all.
bit of a control freak, which I'm not, I easily let things go the way I work. I'm all about the team and what do I create and what's the idea and who do I hand it to is how I work. And I kind of let it go, almost too much a little bit. So if I was much more controlling, then I would struggle, because I'd be trying to do everything. I'm not the do everything person at all, even though I kind of do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Very badly.
Do you have to
You're a
more
failure.
do everything, Christina?
Sorry?
Do you have to be the more do everything person?
Yeah.
So you're talking before about being super professional and super organized on the shoots.
Yeah, it's funny on shoots. I was just saying to my editor today, styling is essentially what you would think that someone does on a shoot, but essentially I think it's it's problem solving, and it's
diplomacy,
dealing with interesting characters, and you're kind of across every detail. I don't know, was that the question? What was the question again? Sorry.
No, just having to be
Strings
across
to the bow.
every
Oh,
piece of
yeah.
boat.
Yeah.
Yasmin was talking about being more big picture and less detailed, but you're more of a details person with some of those.
But you've got to have a micro moment
You
in
have to be
everything
both.
as well, especially
I think
on
you have to be both. Yeah.
You have to,
I
because
think
if
when you're
somebody's having bad
accountable-
hair,
It's my fault.
It's entirely your fault.
Now, before we move to some questions, which we will do, and I'll take the art element out of the earlier question. I'd just like to know, because this is an opportunity to celebrate you, because I think you all deserve to be celebrated well and truly. And I just would like to know what, so far, you're proudest of having achieved through the fashion filter in your careers.
I've been at Instyle for 8 months. I've got like 4 official issues out. Now, it's my first big boss lady job, big girl pants. I think putting up my March issue, which is my first issue, and honestly the people that showed up for me was really incredible. I cried twice. Virgil Abloh made me this t-shirt, it says style on the back. People like, if it was Pia Paolo from Valentino and Chrissy Turlington, old friends of mine, did a story for me in Rome. This t-shirt Lena Dunham wrote for InStyle. Like, a lot of people, there was such goodwill, and I guess being a decent person, people had appreciated that and shown up. So, and whatever I have created and will create, it's the showing up that I really, really treasure. So.
I don't know if I'm not sure if I've had that moment yet, maybe.
It's ahead.
Is that,
Yeah.
I can't really think.
No, I hate these kinds of questions.
I'll just keep going. Anyway, I'll tell you, no, this one, I can speak for these two.
Oh,
Go on.
No, but come on, if people show up for you, you've both carved out completely your own aesthetic and your own deal from, like, I met Yasmin when I interviewed her for a story for Harper's Bazaar Australia in 1998, and I was like, she had the coolest teacups.
They were great.
And they were great. And she's always had great style and been a really great person, and that has influenced the people around you and everything else that you've done. This one is the most gracious, calm, cool pants, but a girl in fashion, especially in New York,
very
and dealing with, and she won't say this, I would say tempestuous characters with such style and more to come there. So they won't speak for themselves, but I damn well will.
I was warned it was going to become a love fest, and the spooning was potentially going to happen. But to prevent that from happening, we might just grab a few questions, and if we could keep it to questions rather than comments, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Justin.
Sorry. Do we have anyone who would like to ask any questions? Or did they answer everything? They can't have answered everything that you possibly would like to know. Now there's loads. Terrific. I think we had some,
do you need a
there's
mic?
some microphones
In the front.
coming around. Sorry, here we go.
Just to kick things off, you touched on your Australianness, and what part of that do you think impacted that down-to-earth element that you were talking about? Has that stayed with you? It's hard to shake?
It grows. I think it grows by being away. I think that it's never it's a homesickness, but it's something about, I think even just getting older. I think however you were born grows within you, and you become more sort of resolute in it and more confident in it. So yeah, I'm more Aussie now. I've always been Aussie than I've ever been. Literally, if my staff does something good, I give them one of those clip-on koalas. They humour me and pretend that that's good. But I think that even more so, and I think it gives you like a strength.
I've thought about this a lot. I really think, I have a theory around this, about being Australian and being sort of, down to earth and more open, and I think that we are. And of course I work in Paris a lot, British people, I think because it's not like we're brought up with loads of history that we're holding on to. We're not stagnant in a way. Every Australian is very much about the now and the future. We don't really look back too much. Whereas in France, they're always sort of looking back a little bit, which is great, and it makes, and in England, absolutely. And I think that we don't have the same amount of weight.
Yeah.
And I think it makes us light. I honestly do. I think it gives us because it's true, we're kind of like, we're present. What do we feel now? Where are we going? Not back. It's like the French, they're great, but it's like their food's not the best anymore. It was maybe the best 50 years ago.
Have you ever heard of a French startup?
Move on.
French startups.
No, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like they're still talking about the bridge, and the butter on the lobster. It's like, move on. You know what I mean? I think there's something about...
You know what thing is great about us? We're so common. The most common. It's so good to be common.
Yeah, I think that Australian thing comes a little bit from that. Yeah.
Terrific. Next question.
Oh, these little hands went on there. There's a little hand there. Oh, there's, sorry. There was just a...
Hi, Yasmin. You mentioned earlier about when you were working with designers that they had something special. Maybe they didn't have the best collection or whatever it was you saw, but they had something special. Can you just give it a personality, or give it, what is it? What is it? And how do you know you have it, or how do you know someone has it?
I think it's hard because a lot of it's instinct, but I think that maybe it's sort of seeing they have a vision. They have a vision that is unique, and they think about things differently, and their passion, and it's just it's what they perceive and how they explain it. It's hard to tell. I mean, with the ones that I've worked with who've ended up being really successful, it was something about that. I mean, I've also gotten it wrong with some people who were just as talented but didn't go as far. But there's just something in the way that they see fashion, the way that they see women or men. Yeah, it's just it's hard to say, but it's a unique way of thinking. Because I think you have to be really unique. You have to come from somewhere else that is ultimately you, because all the great designers in the world have led the way to something new, haven't they? They've given us something new. You mentioned Montana, like all these amazing people today who are really paving the way are truly unique, and they're taking us somewhere else. And I think that somewhere we've never been before. And I think maybe I can spot that in people sometimes. Not always.
Annually.
Anyway.
just up the back here.
What advice would you give to a new or emerging designer who wants their creation to be seen by the world, or who should they reach out to, or what's the starting point for a new designer to get their clothes to be seen in the world?
Well, you know more about Australia, how that's someone in Australia.
So what was the question? How for a young designer to have their clothing be seen and get started?
Getting started.
Oh, I mean, I think it comes down to having a unique point of view for starters, because I think that makes you stand out amongst, a very popular, industry. I don't know.
I'm not sure how. I don't know how. I'm not really sure because I don't live here. How a young designer gets seen. Yeah. In Australia, like how do they?
I mean, there've been so many ways we've seen designers emerge from Paddington markets and Bondi markets. Right. So it hasn't always been starting on the runway at Australian Fashion Week.
Yeah. I think as a consumer, developing some sort of signature, something that you do particularly well that is very much you. If it's one T-shirt, or if it's a collection. Remember, like Alex Wang made T-shirts and jeans. Or there's this one thing that registers that is yours, that people like, and then taking that, and don't overthink anything, and don't second guess yourself, and don't try and be anybody else. There's something that you make that you love and feels entirely that it's you. It could be literally one thing. Don't think you've got to just turn up in the world with a collection, because you don't.
And I think you need to be persistent. I think I look at everything that anyone emails me or shows me, or I think I try to think if I was in that situation, you try to get in front of the people or get access to the people to show them your work.
True. Yeah. And there's one question in the back corner. There was the best arm to shoot up, and it has to be asked.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They're very long. First of all, you guys are a massive inspiration for us. Is that better?
Yeah,
sorry.
Just be like, it's a little muffly, so.
Yeah. First of all, you guys are massive inspiration to us all to know that we can, get to where you guys are. Is there a point in your career that you can look back on now and wish that you could rewind and, give that little whisper in your ear to say that, keep going and you can do it?
I think the biggest thing, if I could give advice to anyone, I work in magazines, so it's maybe different to you guys. I just think you need to focus on what you're doing and not worry about the competition or not worry about anyone else, and do the best you can do. I've always worked in magazines, and I've never really cared about what anyone else was doing or been jealous of anyone else's career path. I've always worked really hard to do the best that I could possibly do, and I think that pays off if you have talent or, I just think staying true to yourself and working really hard, I don't think there's another way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, maybe there is, but for us, I think we've all gone down that similar path of working hard and being true to yourself.
I don't have a moment really, but it's something I've learned is don't envy no one.
Yeah.
envy not one person on this earth.
Yeah.
Professionally, like, I mean, we work with celebrities, for example. My God, like you don't want anything that anybody else has. So you work hard, you show up, you're good to people, you develop a voice. It doesn't matter what buttons you can press for social media or what you've got, or what connections you have, or what money you have. You have no voice, you don't have anything. And I say that every single day to everybody who works with me.
I'm just thinking about time. I mean, like, there's been times where, you know, I've done so many things in my career, I think, and I've had my own business twice. You know, I've had my own businesses. I have, you know, so I mean, there was a time I almost went bankrupt. So that was like, I would have probably had the wisp would have been quite good then, you know, when I was like 24. Yeah, I agree with the girls. I think the jealousy thing is a really interesting point. You know, I think you know, a lot of the people that I know, these guys absolutely, that are successful and have done well, are not the kind of girls or guys who are envious of other people or what other people have. And I've never been like that either. And I meet people like that who are like, you feel it, and it's like, oh, she's got that thing. And it's like, I just don't think you ever really get anywhere. It's not about anybody else, it's about what you do. And like Christine just said, there's a place for everybody, and you might have low points and difficult times in career, but just do what you do and know what you love. If you know what you love, I love fashion. I love it. And I also love retail, and I love working with people and customers and feeling what they want and what's next and looking into the future. All those things I love, love, love. So I do that every day. And no matter what I do in my work, I do that. And so it kind of works.
It becomes your currency.
Yeah, do what you love. Yeah. And you should be able to do it well and just be good and yeah.
You've already got cute hair.
So yeah, you're fine.
One final question and then we will wrap things up, sorry.
Should I just speak loud?
Yes, go on. Project if you can.
Stand.
Excellent. I'm interested in your roles as managing magazines. How do you manage the pressures of commercial interests through advertisers versus your own editorial / content direction?
It comes down to ideas, because someone will say, how about you do something with the XY brand? And I say, well, look, you know, you've got to talk to me about it before you take it out the door. That's number one. Sometimes it's like whack-a-mole, trying to I don't want to have a problem start because somebody tried to sell something that I didn't know about. But it's up to me. I have ideas and my team has ideas, so I will try and find something. If it's a brand of cheese, you know, which I had to talk someone off wrapping the entire magazine in an ad for cheese. But I'll be like, I've got ideas for that, you know what I mean? And we can work on a creative concept with the advertiser that is on brand, because if you are going to buy an ad in InStyle, the whole point of InStyle is that everything in the magazine is in style. Otherwise you go somewhere else. So that's up to me. So yeah, it's a lot of work, you know, managing that. But I think as soon as the more rapidly you create a product that is out there and has a point of view, and I think that I've done that, people know what they're getting and what the voice of the magazine will be. So hopefully that makes that easier. And trust me, I go see 1 million advertisers all the time, and I yap and yap and yap. So
she can talk. She can talk.
So you know what I mean? It's me interacting with them as well and getting that sensibility going. And I'm always saying to them, if you've got a mad idea, if you want a mad idea, call me up. It's just about, we have to communicate to be able to make it work.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to welcome Arani from the Powerhouse back to the stage. And meanwhile, could you please thank, while Arani comes up.
As Damien said, I'm Arani Duggan. I'm the Head of Development and Strategic Relations for the Maz Centre for Fashion. I did just want to make some thank yous to our speakers, Laura, Yasmin and Christine. I'm sure everyone agrees it was wonderful to hear your stories and insights into the industry, so thank you. And to Damien, you were really the perfect host for this conversation, so thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge the Maz team, and especially Tracy Baker, who were instrumental in pulling this event together today. And of course our Centre for Fashion partners, Tiffany & Co, Etihad Airways, Garderobe and University of Technology Sydney. Thank you for your ongoing support. If you don't have to rush off, I'd love to invite you up to level 4 to view our recently opened exhibition, Love is Australian Wedding Fashion, curated by the fabulous Glynis Jones. And we look forward to seeing you back in the museum for another Centre for Fashion exhibition, event or program. Thank you.